Hello and welcome to Higher Spirits with Edwin Courtenay and episode 5, in which we're going to be talking about the solar plexus chakra and the psychical talent and ability. I think a lot of people get confused between what is exactly meant by psychical ability and the spiritual abilities, which are more concerned with channeling, trance, and communicating with the spiritual world. Spirit and spiritual are such loaded terms because they mean so many different things in different cultures and in different practices. But in this context, we're using them more in the spiritualist meaning in regards to mediumship and communicating with the dead and guides, guardian angels, ascended masters, the divine. So the big difference in regards to that and psychical development is that psychical development, psychical ability, it has absolutely nothing to do with communicating with entities. It is a skill set which is focused entirely upon the physical dimension and the energies within the physical plane. I say the physical dimension, I'm also talking about those dimensions which neighbor the physical dimension. So the etheric and astral planes where energy can be perceived and interacted with. But in no way, shape or form does psychical ability hold the capacity to communicate with entities. Psychical ability then is the capacity to read energy and vibration, energy and frequency, to tap into the energy which is found within the physical world and which exists behind the physical world, in order to read the state of that energy, to ascertain what's going on, to get a sense of the nature of a thing or place or person, to tune into the vitality, the health of a place or person or animal or tree or crystal, to read the history of an object or a place or a person, to get a sense of the character of a place or an object or a person. Some would say that it is all about aligning with something called the morphogenic field. So the morphogenic field, it sits around all living things, trees, flowers, weeds, plants, crystals, because they are considered to be living, human beings, animals, and it records the history of that thing, where they've been, what they've done, how they felt, the highs, the lows, everything. So when a psychic tunes into the morphogenic field, they can read from it all of this personal history, all of this information which is stored there. Now, if you have a wooden table, that wooden table was once a tree, and although it would have been cut down in order to have been turned into that table, the morphogenic field will still be around that object because that object was once living and organic. And similarly, if you have pottery or glassware which was made from silica, a form of crystal, then that will have a morphogenic field that can be read too. So any organic material or any object made from organic materials, a leather wallet, for instance, a silk blouse, a woolen jumper, will have a morphogenic field which can be read. Synthetic materials, plastics, and synthetic fibers, they don't have a morphogenic field. They can't be read. There's nothing holding that history in those objects, which is why when a psychic asks for an object from a client, they will say, no, no plastic combs, thank you, but I'll take your leather wallet. Or yes, I'll take your golden ring, but please don't pass me your nylon jumper. So they're looking for something which was once organic or that has organic components to it so that they can read it. Now, this morphogenic field, it can be wiped clean. Running water will do that. Smudging it with white sage will do that. Working with the energy of the violet flame will do that. And if an object has been cleansed in this way, then of course the history has been eradicated from the morphogenic field and it can't be read, which is why psychics have difficulty reading objects taken from bodies that have been found in rivers or streams or lakes, because the running water has washed away the information stored within the morphogenic field, making it impossible for the psychic to pick up on any information. The psychical talent then will express itself in a variety of different ways: clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, clairsentiently. You're not receiving messages as images or sounds or feelings. You're interpreting the vibration that you're tuning into as either an image, a hallucination, a sound, an auditory hallucination, or a feeling or a knowing inside your body or inside your heart consciousness. So it's exactly the same clair, as it were, but you're just interpreting a frequency, a vibration, rather than receiving a message from an entity or presence. Now, the solar plexus center is the chakra which is considered to be our major chakra center. It sits below the heart. Different people place it in different positions, and as I may have said before, for my understanding, my experience is that the chakras sit slightly differently in everybody because of the nature of their design, their shape, their proportion. My solar plexus center actually sits quite high in my body, just underneath the sternum, just underneath my rib cage. But I know some people feel that their solar plexus is a little bit lower down in their body. So you need to try and feel for yourself where you think it might be. It's yellow in color, and you may see, if you go to see a psychic, that they will take an object from you to psychometrize it. That's the term. It means soul measuring, to psychometrizing it. I think in America sometimes psychometrists are called touch nose, nose with a K, not nose with an N. So they'll take the object and they might hold it at the solar plexus point in order to tune into it, because like I say, this is the major psychic center. Other psychics might, particularly if they're clairvoyant, if they receive images, they might hold the object to their brow. If they are clairaudient psychics, they might hold the object to their throat center. And some will just hold it between their hands, because the second psychic center in the body is the chakras in the palms of our hands. We have chakras in the palms of our hands, and we have chakras on each of the tips of our fingers and our thumbs. So some psychics, maybe the ones that are a little bit clairvoyant and a little bit clairaudient and a little bit clairsentient, will simply hold the object here in the hands. I mean, some might even hold it at the heart, particularly if they are predominantly clairsentient, though that's a little bit more unusual. There's much more of a tendency just to tune into the emotional impressions in an object if you hold it here at the heart. And you're wanting to try and tune into the broad spectrum of vibrational information contained within the object or the person. So some psychics will hold the object in their hands. Some psychics, and I think maybe not so much the ones here in the UK, but certainly the media, the television, would have us believe that psychics in places like America will ask for the hands of a person. I think people here in the UK would be very reticent to give their hands to a psychic or a clairvoyant to hold, particularly with the recent goings on with COVID and so on. So you could hold the hands of someone that you were tuning into. You could take an object from them. You certainly wouldn't take a person's hands and slap it up against your solar plexus or your brow center, but you might hold them in your hands and use your palm chakras to tune into an individual. I think it's a very powerful way of doing it, but you, of course, need to make sure that you've got proper consent from your client before you reach across the table and grab hold of their sweaty mitts. And then you would open yourself up to see what you see, to see what you hear, to see what you feel. You would, particularly with psychical sensing, pay attention to your body, because the body can often be used as a mirror to sense aches and pains within a person, blockages within their energy system, physical conditions, though of course we have to be really careful when relaying physical conditions, because most of us aren't doctors or nurses and we don't have any, pardon the pun, but prescription to diagnose. But you can certainly tune into a person's energy system by listening to your energy system and using it as a mirror, and talk about the person's chakras or their aura or their meridians, or blockages generally within their mental, emotional, spiritual nature. So often when we're tuning in psychically to a person or an object or a place, we will listen to our body, and it will become the mirror through which sorry, just keeping my eye on the time, the mirror through which we can determine what's going on. As I said, psychical sensitivity enables us to tune into people, but also places and spaces, to get a sense of the energy of a new home or a prospective new home, or a room that we might be working with, or the land upon which we might be passing through or camping on. We can use our psychical ability to tune into an object, maybe an antique that we're thinking of buying, in order to make sure that it's not got anything unpleasant attached to it, or to get a measure of whether or not we might need to cleanse it before we put it in our home. We can use psychical ability to tune into a crystal's energy, to see if the energy is strong, to see if the energy is resonant or compatible with our own, to see if the crystal wants to work with us, in a sense, to get a sense of what the crystal's power is all about, its spiritual properties and meaning. Same with talismans. And of course, we can tune into people, we can tune into animals, we can tune into plants, to see if they are vital, to see if they have good energy, to see how a person is doing, how a person is feeling, what a person might be thinking, to tune into an animal for exactly those same reasons. I know of psychics who, when they go shopping in garden centres to pick plants for their garden, they will tune in psychically to the plants that are about to buy, in order to make sure that they're not going to get a plant that's going to die 2 days later. They're tuning in to try and find a plant that has nice and vital energy, nice vital life force energy. And I've known psychics, when they've gone to pick a pet dog or cat, tune into the cat or dog in order to try and get a read on the nature of the beast, as it were, to see if they are compliant or docile or friendly, or whether they've got kind of issues that they might not particularly want to bring back to their home or their family. Because, of course, psychical sensitivity requires us to open up, and we don't know quite what we're going to be opening up to. There might be a lot of negative energy in the object or the space or the person. We do need to protect ourselves before we do any kind of psychic work. And if you go back onto the previous videos, I talked a lot in some of those about psychical protection, but just the usual things: visualizing yourself stood inside a circle of light, visualizing yourself wearing a cloak of violet, or you could call upon a presence for protection. Something that a friend of mine used to do, which I thought was very good, is that they would bring their hands up like this, as if they were in surgery, and ask to be given gloves of violet light. And then they would hold the object, or touch the object or the person. And the violet gloves would act as a screening filter, so that they could feel negative energy, but not be intruded upon by it, not be infected by it. And you could visualize yourself an entire hazmat of violet light, a hazmat suit, in order to keep all of your chakras safe from anything that you were about to touch or tune into. Of course, we don't need to touch the object to tune into it psychically. There's lots of people who tune in absently at distance by just focusing on the person, the place, the object, the animal, bringing the attention into the solar plexus, opening the solar plexus center once you are nice and protected, and tuning in that way. I think it's an advanced form of psychical attunement. It takes practice, and in the beginning it's much easier to use an object or to be in the vicinity of a person so that you can tune directly into their morphogenic field or their aura, or to touch their body directly. And when I first started, I would use an object. If I was reading for the person absently, I'd get them to send it me through the post, and then I'd send it back to them, of course. Or if I was working with a person directly, I would get them to shuffle some cards, and I'd partly read the energy from the cards, or I'd just open up nice and wide to tune into the energy around the person that I was trying to connect with and key into. So I thought it might be nice if we did a little exercise to wrap up with. So you might want to pause the video here whilst you go and find something, because I'm going to ask you to find something to tune into, to psychometrize. I'm going to use a crystal. This is a piece of tanzanite, rough tumbled piece of tanzanite. You might want to use a crystal. I'd probably encourage you to use something that you know that isn't steeped potentially with hidden negative energies. It could be something of yours, because it's just a bit of a practice, this. So it could be a crystal of yours, if you're wanting to tune into the property or the energy of the stone. It could be a pot plant. I mean, most pot plants aren't clouded with vast forms of negative energies or have negative entities attached to them. If you've got a nice docile pet, could be a pet. Or in time, maybe not now, you could grab a person to try and tune into them, or get an object from a person. So go grab something, pause the video, go grab something, and we'll just do this final little exercise together to wrap things up. I'm going to pop a little bit of music on in the background, just so we've got something nice and soothing to meditate to focus our attention with. This is a piece of music composed by my partner Andrew called Chorum 3. I'm not sure if it's one of the free pieces of music that's available from the free stuff section of our website. There are a lot of Andrew's license-free pieces of music there for you to use in your own meditations and groups. So if you like it, it's worth having a look there to see if you can find it. And if not, do have a look at some of the other stuff that he's put there, because he's got some really beautiful pieces of music. Okay, so magically, traditionally, the left hand is always the one that we use for sensing things. So I'm going to ask you to put your crystal or object into your left palm, and then I'm going to ask you to press that against your solar plexus center. And you can pop your other hand on top of it just to steady it there if you would like. We're assuming that you've done some protection work, of course, though we're working with a safe object, but if you weren't, you would protect yourself before you even pick up the object, of course. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Every time you breathe in, I want you to imagine you're feeding the solar plexus with energy and light, and as you breathe out, the solar plexus expands and dilates and opens. Breathe in. Feed the solar plexus with universal life force, chi, ki. Breathe out. Let the solar plexus expand and open. One more time. Breathe in. Golden light into the solar plexus. Breathe out. Let the solar plexus expand. The solar plexus is like the sun or a sunflower, a brilliant golden expanding orb of yellowy light. Bring your attention here, your full focus to this point, holding the intent that the solar plexus center is gobbling up the vibrational information that it's finding around the object, around the stone, and also within it. Combing and reading through the morphogenic field of the object to read its history, and also delving deep into the energy and information and memory stored within the physical matter of the object itself too. Open your mind. What do you see? Dismiss nothing. Try to remember the colours and symbols and visions. Listen. What do you hear? The sound of nature, an animal, the sound of the sea, tolling bells, ships moving into bay. What do you hear, in or outside of your head? Try to remember these things. And what do you feel in your body, in your heart? Aches and pains, warmth or cold, tingling, physical sensations, energetic sensations. What do you know about the object? What information falls into your mind, unfolds inside your brain? Try and remember. Try and log it all so that you can record it later. Just going to give you a few moments so that you can really tune deeply into the object. And in a second or two, in a moment or two, my voice will return to guide you back. Okay, take a few deep breaths. Pull the object away from the solar plexus center, and as you breathe, just bring the solar plexus back into its normal shape, its default setting, its normal dilation. See it retracting, retreating, returning back to a balanced state. Remove the object from your hand and put it down on the table, and just as you breathe too, let your palm chakra return to its normal shape and state and dilation too in the center of your palm. And if you feel the need, just take a few deep breaths and either breathe in some violet flame energy or ask to be cleansed and cleared of any inappropriate or negative energy that you might have been exposed to as a result of that little exercise. You could call upon the Archangel Gabriel, or the Archangel Zadkiel, or the Ascended Master Saint Germain, or your guide or guardian angel to do this for you. And then just take a few moments to ground. breathing into and through the base chakra, down through the legs and the soles of the feet, these roots, like the roots of a tree, deep and wide into the earth. Sometimes psychometry can surprisingly unground us, so it's not a bad idea just to do a little bit of grounding after any kind of psychic exercise we do. Now, I should just say, if towards the end of that exercise you have this incredible clairaudient experience of hearing a dog bark, actually that was my dog barking downstairs, probably at the postman, so sorry about that. Sorry to disappoint you, in case anybody thought you'd had a breakthrough. Not a breakthrough, just a very naughty dog. Okay, so that exercise then can be applied, as I say, to people, places, objects, animals, crystals, plants. Practice makes perfect. There's lots of opportunity to practice. Safe practice are those things that you know, that you trust. Your crystals, plants from the garden, your pets, maybe even members of your family that you're relatively confident aren't harboring any dark forces. But if you then start to branch out and psychometrize things that you're less confident about, always protect. And as a rule of thumb anyway, after any psychical exercise, always ground, always cleanse. Very important. In our next episode of High Spirits, we're going to be looking at the sacral center. Now, don't be put off. I know you might think, ugh, boring, but actually the sacral center is a really essential center in the body. It's really great for equilibrium. It's really great for stamina and endurance. It's really good at bringing us a sense of contentment and peace, which in this crazy world we most definitely need. So we're going to be exploring all those wonderful gifts that the sacral center holds and how we can use that for ourselves and how we can maybe use that for other people as well. If you have enjoyed this episode and you have yet to click and subscribe, then please do so. And of course, please let as many people as you know that this little YouTube channel exists. People who you think might be interested and benefit from all the previous episodes and of course this episode too. Thank you very much for giving me your time and tuning into this little video here today. Stay safe and well, and bright blessed be.